Welcome to this long-anticipated Women Gallerists panel produced with the Academy of SF, and they've done so much for us, and we're so grateful to them. A little bit about NCWCA, the Northern California Women's Caucus for Art. It is a volunteer-run, nonprofit organization that advocates on behalf of women and women's art, creating fun events, exhibits, and professional development activities for our members and also for the community at large, for those who are here who are not. Can you raise your hand if you're not with NCWCA? Well, nice groups. Welcome. We're so glad to have you, and also we're glad to have the members. We always like to see our members. NCWCA began in 1974 as one of the first chapters of the National Women's Caucus for Art, which in turn was formed in response to the College Art Association's neglect of women artists. I'm proud to be among such dedicated arts professionals, and for anyone who would like to know more about NCWCA, see this badge. There's several board members around. They're wearing badges. We have a card. You're welcome to pick up the card. Our membership chair, Teresa's in the back. She's the person to talk to at this event.
Yeah.
And we're glad to sign up new members for the Women's Caucus for Art. I would like to thank the Academy SF. I would like to acknowledge NCWCA's outreach chair, Deborah Reebok, for initiating this event, and Susan Kirschenbaum for picking up the baton and getting us to this stage. Thank you for all your hard work, Susan.
You'll shake your chairs down for.
Oh yeah, come on in. We have chairs at this end of the room. Welcome. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Susan Kirschenbaum. She's an artist, curator, and hardworking NCWCA Professional Development Chair. And she will introduce the panelists. Thank you to Susan and to all of you for being here, and to our wonderful panelists. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to everything that you have to say. Thank you. Okay. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm honored to introduce our four presenters, all key players in the Bay Area art scene. There's, at the end, Kate Eilertson, right? Annette Schultz, Danielle Fox, and Diane Chung. Our topics include what galleries look for in artists, how to attract gallery representation, big difference there, practical guidance for women artists starting or expanding their careers. Our moderator today is Kate Eilertson, the Executive Director of DeRosa Center for Contemporary Art. That's Kate right there. And Kate has worked in the art world for many years as an arts advocate, museum director, curator, and educator. She began her museum work at the Metropolitan Museum in New York, moved to Boston where she opened a new museum for the Harvard University Art Museums, and then to California where she was the director of Intersection for the Arts, Museum of Craft and Folk Art, acting director of Visual Arts for Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, and executive director for the Sonoma Valley Museum of Art.
I'm very old. Experienced.
Our panelists are Diane Chung, is the owner and gallery director of Chung 24 Gallery. Diane was born in Hong Kong and lives in San Francisco, where she founded Chung 24 Gallery in 2021 as a platform to showcase compelling photography-based work by artists at varying stages of their career, to offer a physical space for deeper engagement with collectors and art lovers. Her gallery has presented exhibitions ranging from classic black and white photography to alternative processes and contemporary mixed media work, exploring the medium. Prior to being a gallerist, Diane was a fine art photographer whose work was shown domestically and internationally. Still going forever, but they come back. Got to hear a little bit about them. Danielle Fox is the principal of Slate Art. Danielle is an art historian by training with a PhD from Northwestern University. She has over 30 years of experience in the art world as teacher, writer, editor, and curator, as Deputy Director of Business Development at Sotheby's in London, founder of Slate Contemporary Gallery in Oakland since 2009, and principal partner of Slate Art Consulting since 2014. She has a deep understanding of the international art market, experience working with galleries and auction houses, and 5 years in the interior design field. Danielle oversees operations for Slate Art, directs Slate Contemporary Gallery, manages Slate's public art program, and curates collections for key clients. Since this is alphabetical. Annette Schutz is the owner of Art House Consulting. Annette has been a San Francisco-based gallerist, curator, and art advisor for more than 30 years. Her dedication and love for the arts continues to be a lifelong journey, not only as a businesswoman in the arts, but also in her many efforts to give back to the Bay Area community. She is currently the owner of Art House Consulting and was the co-founder of Art House Gallery with James Bocci, established in 1996. Annette is a long-standing volunteer for many Bay Area art organizations, including San Francisco Artist Network, Artspan, and the International Mobile Phone Awards. She has been a featured guest at NCWCA's Bay Area Art Stars. After the panel discussion, we will proceed to some Q&A, informal. I will be here with a mic, and after that, we will enjoy some more snacks. And don't be distracted by the fact that they are still sitting there right now, and drinks. And we're here until 8:30 tonight. So feel free to stay, mix, mingle, meet each other. Thank you.
Don't let get used to this. Not the whole you look at us, but the left, 3 eye, hello.
Hello. You have to really play with the, yeah.
Have to buy it, it's the, no,
I'm getting intimate with the mic. This is very exciting. So I'm thrilled to be here with such a wonderful group of women and even a few men, I see. That's good. We need you. Sisterhood is powerful, and I'm thrilled to interview or work with these 3 very accomplished gallerists, and we're gonna learn a lot from them. So I wanted to start, although Susan did a really nice job of describing what they do, I wanted to ask each one of you what niche your gallery or art house fills, and why did you choose that niche?
I run, just speaking from the gallery side of my business, Slate Contemporary Gallery in Oakland. And I would say that our niche is abstract and nature-based painting, including everything that comes in between abstraction and nature-based painting. We also show some photography, we show some sculpture, we on occasion show some figurative art, and I am like truly, honestly on the lookout for some more figurative art, but it has to key in with our very kind of formal approach to things. And it's easier said than done. So I think that's our niche, and we generally sell to private homeowners art that they want to hang on the walls of their home and live with on a day-to-day basis. So it's a different niche from conceptual art that is working more on ideas and politics and policy and things that are time-based and performance-based. That's all really important art, and political art is really important art, but it's not what our gallery niche is. So one way of saying what we do is what we don't do.
It's a real privilege to be here to see all of your faces, and the hope is we were all talking up here earlier, is that when you leave today, that you have some more tools to consider for your as you move forward in creating art. So I started Art House with my business partner in 1996, and our focus was Bay Area and New York artists. New York because he had a gallery in New York, and then we reviewed his stable and then chose what really resonated for us. When I'm looking for, and then the same thing when we built our collection, or all the artists that we represent, that there's this real heart connection. I work mainly with, residential, but I just finished a big project in Chicago that was commercial. I work with a lot of interior designers, so when their clients are ready, then I come in and we work to build a collection that's harmonious and beautiful in the space, but not to necessarily not matching the sofa, so to speak, right? So what we look for is it's not political, like you said. Yeah, it's what we're looking for now is, or what I'm looking for now is just the work that resonates, and it's a two-way street when you're looking for a gallery, or I'm looking for an artist. It's that connection. So that's it.
Hello. I feel so honored to be amongst this illustrious and contest. Without me. Okay. I'm very honored to be part of this panelist, to be with this illustrious gallerist and curator. My gallery is fairly new to this area. This will be our 5th year. We started on 24th Street in Noe Valley. That's why it's turned 24. We're now located in Dogpatch on Pennsylvania, but I was not going to change it to Chum, Pennsylvania. Just makes no sense. So we're still Chum 24. Our niche is photography and photography-based work. We mostly show emerging artists and mid-career artists. We do have a number of established artists that we work with, or their work is on view in our little salon corner. Because my gallery is new, we don't do representation model, it's all on consignment. So I usually do solo shows or maybe 2-person show, mostly because I have a smaller space, and if the artist is willing, then they take on the solo. Otherwise, we always look for that conversation. The space lends itself to 2 to 3-person show. I do have a group show coming up in June. So, and my gallery, because it's just me, I am Chum 24. If I get hit by a car tonight, there will be no Chum 24 tomorrow. Our gallery, we do about 5 shows a year, and that's to make it manageable for myself and still have a life. So niche-wise, really photography, but not necessarily just the traditional black and white photography. I have a pretty wide berth that I look for photography-based work. And presently, what's in the gallery right now, volume and prints, very abstract. And you look at it, there's not a single tree, no bird, no person. It's just light, and how the artist sort of cooks the colors out of black and white, old black and white photo paper. So to me, why photography is because that's the one medium I know best, because I've done photography myself, I've studied a little bit. So I get a chance to have more meaningful conversation. I was just telling Kate that, otherwise talking about painting and sculpture will end in Renaissance period, because as far as my art education goes. So that's us, Chum 24.
Thank you.
I think everyone here would love to know how you select artists. And a sort of second question in that question is, who do you trust to recommend artists?
Did you reach that money for girl fund? I got wow, people started.
Okay, one more time. There was who do you trust to recommend artists, and how do you
Go out select.
select? How do you select them? Well, yeah, people ask us a lot how we find artists, and I will say that we get probably half a dozen unsolicited submissions every single day.
No.
More than we can possibly respond to, because I would have to pay someone like a full salary just to reject people, because 98% of them are just not appropriate for what we're doing. Every once in a while one comes through, and we actually had a Zoom call this morning with someone who's working out of state, and the work caught my eye, and I looked at the website, we started a conversation, and I think we might be moving towards a relationship. So it's not impossible to get a gallery's attention that way, but it's not a surefire tactic, and don't expect a response. I'm sorry. I wish I could respond to all of it.
I feel the
It's
same
just-
way every day.
My job is to be selling the art of the artists that I already represent, not doing free critiques and responses to artists that are just out there in the community. And it's with all due respect to the artists in the community, but every day, every minute, you have to say, where am I going to put my attention and my resources? And they need to be focused on the artists that we're committed to, so that we can sell the work and get them exhibition opportunities and everything else. But aside from the kind of cold calling sort type or cold emailing, I also go out to a lot of art fairs. I go to other, going to other gallery shows in the Bay Area. If it's a nonprofit show or in a group show, sometimes I'll find something that interests me and kind of look the artist up later. So those kind of non-profit sponsored juried shows are usually a good place to look for local talent, and then I'll go out of town, to LA, to the Startup Fair or the other art fair or other shows where artists might be self-representing in a booth, but that they're self-representing because they're not picked up by a gallery yet, so that's a nice place to look for some new talent. Or we're just going to art fairs and looking at artists who are already established with other galleries, but maybe they don't have Bay Area representation. And so you mostly kind of have, at the level that we're working at now, you kind of already have to be out there a bit, and showing. And I only have so much time to go out and look at shows too. I wish I knew a lot more, but do what we can.
So, the same, I get solicitations every day as well. I try to look at as much as I can. I really do. Because, I know how hard it is on your side, and I never know what you're going to find. First of all, what I'm looking for is an authentic voice for the work that you're creating is uniquely yours. So if we saw that work, I would say, oh, I know who that is, right? The mastery of your medium has to be just exquisite. So I also, you should have a strong artist statement, a condensed bio that highlights your shows or anything that's really strong, and your CV. I look for a professional working relationship. What does that mean? That means if I'm calling you and I need something, I get that right away so that it goes both ways. If I'm working on several projects right now. When I email my artists or text them, they get back to me immediately. It's a working relationship. We become partners. The other thing that's important with professionalism, if you're doing an open studio, your artwork has to be the same price in your studio as it is in the gallery. It's really, really important. And I think That's probably it. I also go to a lot of art shows. I'm another thing, social media presence. Really important. What's interesting is when someone goes to my site and they like something, if they're an artist, I actually go look at them. So it's a kind of a passive way for you to connect with gallerists. I would look at gallerists, I would look at art consultants, I would look at designers, I would look at anybody who could place your work. And so social media is, we're in a visual industry and use it. It's important also, I know we're going to talk about how to market yourself, so I'll save that for later, but that's it.
So first, the same these days, I don't really have time to respond to cold solicitation anymore. I even have a disclaimer on my website that unsolicited proposal may not receive a response. And also like Annette, I try to look at everything, especially earlier on when the gallery was new and I'm still looking for artists. But at some point, it's difficult. Again, to Danielle's point, I should be focused on artists that I'm already showing. Even though it's a consignment model, I do have artists that's on long-term consignment. So just today, I'm thinking about a new way of showing small work. So for me now, I need artists either through other artists that I've shown already, or social media. That is a good way, because then if sometimes it pops up in your feed and something looks interesting and you investigate, I tend to look social media on like middle of the night, 2 a.m. And also if someone follows me, then I will look at their site. So again, if you're going to send a cold email, be to the point. It's a visual medium. Have pictures. I've had like whole essays written about themselves and why I should show them, but where are the pictures? Especially in photography. If you have to write a 2-page essay to explain to me why I should show your work, there are some issues there. And for me, because I only do 5 shows a year and they tend to be solo or 2 to 3 person show, it's a very personal relationship. The way I describe to artists that I meet with, it's like courtship. And probably for any of you, by the time your work shows up in my gallery, I would have worked with you anywhere from a year to 6 months, from the point of planning the show to it being there. And then I still have to have the same enthusiasm to talk about your work for the duration of the show. Like I'm in love. I can tell you every piece of artwork that's in my gallery. I can tell you everything about it. I could tell you about the artist. I was just doing some numbers. I've shown 44 artists in the 5 years that we've been around, and you could pick anyone from the list. I can tell you exactly what it was that they showed without having to look at anything. So for me, the working relationship is a little bit more personal. I always have a check with the artist first, and then I look at the work. And that sort of speaks to the authenticity part. Again, if I'm in your studio, I look at the work, or you're showing me on your phone or whatever, however you're showing me. And as I'm listening to you and I'm looking at it, if it doesn't jive, then again, there are issues. Sometimes, especially in photography, it might be easier to start with answering call for entries, like in group show situation, because to develop your own point of view, which is also what I'm looking for at your narrative, everyone has one really fantastic photo in them, especially these days. Everyone's carrying a camera. But to make it meaningful, there has to be a story behind it. Someone actually at a review asked me recently, does it always have to have a story behind it? I said, yes, it's visual storytelling, even if it's just one single shot. So it should be your point of view. You make that shot, with making many decisions. Why did you hit the shutter at that point? It's a little bit different from painting, from sculpture. The artist has time to sort of look at the piece. With photography, unless you're doing, stage photography, studio, a lot of times it's especially landscape. Why that moment? And find your point of view. Everyone starts with trying to be like someone. That's just normal. That's how you start. But the more you work on it, whether painting or sculpture, then you develop your own point of view. There's so many artists out there, and there's so many of them doing good work. What makes yours special? Why should I put all my heart and soul and money into promoting your work and trying to convince people that they should give me their hard-earned money for your art?
Aren't they smart? I'm a moderator, so I'm not supposed to answer questions, but I'm going to tell you, one of the questions I just asked was about who do you listen to, what advice? And for me, because I'm not the moderator, for me, I listen to artists that I respect. I think they are the ones who can define who's really unusual work, be committed to their work, has a story or whatever. I think having artists recommend other artists is something that I really listen to.
I'll just confirm that and also just say if an artist in my stable asks me to look at another artist's work, 100% I am going to do it. I'm going to respond to them. I will, if they're local, I'll do the studio visit. And part of it is that the artist who's doing the referral, I know that they get us and what we're doing, and that they're recommending this person in the context of really understanding what we do. Because so many of the kind of cold submissions that we get, it seems like people don't even look at our website before they email us. They haven't taken any time to look at our exhibition history, to look at what are the through lines of the artists that we do represent, to kind of wrap their head around what our agenda and taste and interests are. And yet they're asking us to drop everything and go look at them and think about their agenda and tastes and visual interests. So do your homework first. But the chances of a match are better if there's someone who already understands what you're doing.
You're going to add.
So let's talk about the art market today, which is very different than it was 10 years ago and even 2 years ago, with the closing of CCA and the Art Institute, and today the Contemporary Jewish Museum, De Rosa is struggling. How has that affected your practice?
Just back up.
After COVID, in 2022, so after having an art house for almost 25 years with my business partner, we were actually doing very well through COVID, which I think a lot of galleries were, because people were not traveling, so they were using that money. A lot of people were working from home to buy art. Is that right? Yeah. Say what?
And wine.
Oh, yes, wine and art. Yeah, so it was a really busy time for us, but we also could see what was happening. People were not, we were south of Market. Nobody was on the streets anymore. I mean, we had people always, obviously it was COVID too, but just there was no foot traffic. People were, everybody was working from home. Our lease was up, and so we knew this was, and after 25 years, in the industry, in that way we would create a different model. So I did art house consulting then. What I have found for myself though, because I've been in the industry so long, I have a lot of designers that I work with. I have most of my clients are repeat clients. So I will do their entire home. And so not having that overhead of the brick and mortar changed my how I work, but I have found that I've continued to stay busy with projects. And I think it's just because of that longevity of 30 years now as Art House. But I think it would be hard to start, it is hard because relationships, we're in the relationship business, all of us are. And that's how we survive, and that's how we're successful. It's every single person counts. Every relationship with Gallerists count. All of you showing up, all of us being together and trying to help one another, how to move forward when sometimes it's hard to. All of that is how we are successful. So I don't know if I can speak to that exactly. We are all feeling it, but from my perspective, there's different ways to be in this industry. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's a hybrid of both,
And Danielle and I were talking earlier about art fairs and how important they are. You want to talk about that, Danielle?
Maybe, yeah. I think first I'll just go back to the question that you were answering, Annette, with how things have changed in the last few years. And we experienced the same thing in our, we were in a gallery district on 25th Street in Oakland that was very well established and has a lot of other galleries and artist-run spaces and studios. But post-pandemic, the foot traffic just never came back. And it wasn't helped by the crime wave that hit not only Oakland, but, we all know what happened in like 2023 and 2024 in the urban areas in California, and it wasn't pretty. And it just kind of never recovered. And so on the one hand, it pushed us, as we had already started during the pandemic, to focus much more on online marketing, digital marketing, website, and that kind of stream for making contact with people. Now, all that said, we just opened a new space in Rockridge, which I just decided to spend the money and go to a neighborhood that has a lot of foot traffic and is beautiful to visit and everything. But I'm realizing like 2 weeks into that we are going to meet a lot more people, and we are much better positioned to meet qualified collectors, but it's going to take time. And it is still never going to be a situation where people are just walking in the door and buying art. We still have to rely 500% on all our past clients, who are the ones who are kind of keeping us alive right now. They're popping back up and saying, I got a new house, or, I'm remodeling, or I divorced my husband and he took all the art. Can you help? But those long-term relationships, are worth so much on it. And they've really helped sustain us. But we're every day thinking too just about, now I've got someone on staff who's doing graphic design and for the digital marketing and everything. It's like you cannot escape that. But because of it, we also get, people from Florida emailing us and saying, I want to buy this. I'm like, great, I'll ship it. Go. So, but it's different. It's just not what it used to be, where the gallery was like a little community space, that people gathered in and showed up at. People just kind of stopped wanting to go out. Even the artists stopped really going out for each other that much, in a weird way. So it is a different world, and we have to come up with new ways of getting the artist's work out to audiences and new ways of trying to sell it, which isn't always the end game, but it's an end game. It certainly helps everybody involved. Yeah.
So I've never been, my gallery wasn't around when times were good. I opened in the middle of the pandemic, the week that the Delta variant hit. So it was not easy, but then I also didn't come from a fine art background. I was in finance, and I went to fashion school, but that was another life. So, and the reason I opened a photography gallery was because that's the medium I know something about, and also I was just like hit by lightning. My reaction to the pandemic and the lockdown was humanity needs more art. So that's why I opened an art gallery. And, that's why I keep it small. So I could fund it. Well, my husband could fund it. And it's sustainable. So I understand the importance of building relationship with collectors, but given that I'm a very more niche gallery, photography focused, I know the demographics are shifting. I've talked to collectors who collect photography. There are this level of masters that they collect, and we all know which galleries they go to and work with to get that work. But then, with my business training, I do look at marketing data, I do my research, I talk to other people who know more about me. The more recent information I have is actually from my art handler, who said he was really busy last year because all the galleries are returning work to the artists. They're downsizing their warehouses. For him, as an art handler, he's concerned where his business will come from going forward. So it's what I observe is that everyone's like buckling down and to ride through the lean years. And again, coming from a business background, you run your business one way when it's boom time, you run it another way when it's lean times, but you gotta figure it out. And even though I'm a commercial art gallery, I've had artists who joke that, oh, you're actually a nonprofit, which is true. So I am going to look into a hybrid model where there's an actual nonprofit side to the gallery, so I can help the artists fund their projects, and then I don't feel so guilty. I've been told I shouldn't feel guilty because I also do invest into their show each time. But it's responsibility. It's this whole house experience. You're a custodian of someone's work. There is it's like a sacred duty. But yes, definitely, and also really, it's just a shifting demographics. Danielle, you talk about being in an area that checks all the demographic data from income to, I did all that. That's why we started in Noe Valley on paper. It looks really good. Boy, does it look good. It's like, it checked all the boxes. But then the reality is, once you're in the space, it's not so much, you get the foot traffic. I was right next to Noe Valley Bakery at the time. Really good traffic, a lot of people pop in. But then it's a different kind of conversation when you're in the commercial corridor. Whereas now I'm in Dog Patch. It's more known for the arts, and so it's a different kind of conversation. But still, I could be very honest and say it doesn't necessarily help the sales, but it helps exposure. And if it helps expose the artist's work to a wider audience, then I've done part of my job. I recently was in an art fair, a new art fair called Show LA in LA, which was focused on photography. So the traffic flow was really good, even though there were all the big fairs in West LA, and the engagement was good. I probably did more sales that one weekend than I did in the last 3 months. But still, because of the level of artists that I showed, it's not what I call rent-paying kind of scenario. But it's what I choose to do. I understand, and we were just talking about it. I was just saying to Annette that I really need to be better on the sales part. So, it's one of those things. That's why I'm like, okay, I'll start a nonprofit. I could fundraise. I'm very good at raising funds. I'm just not very good at selling.
Do you want a job? I need a development director at the Rosa.
Oh, wow. I'm very good at raising my own funds.
So I think we don't have a whole lot of time before we go to answer your questions, but so I wanted to maybe finish with, what advice do you give these women in this room, whether they're 18 years old or 75 years old, what advice would you get?
Yeah, it's hard to sum it up and like just wrap it up like that because there were so many other questions that I was hoping to be able to answer. But number one, like I said, do your homework. Number two, be a yes. Like take any opportunity that really comes your way. All those group shows, all those community shows, all those juried shows, especially if it's with a curator doing the jurying, they do help. They get you out there, they get you more exposure. Even if all they do is add lines on your CV, it builds a CV, it builds you being able to say, I've showed at all these institutions, or I've shown that, and try to do juried shows out of state too. Because when I see that on an emerging artist resume who hasn't had a lot of gallery representation yet, but I see that they're sending works to Boston, to Philadelphia for these juried shows. It shows, number one, I can say they've exhibited nationally, which really kind of makes you look good. But it also just shows like gumption and that you're putting yourself out there. And no one's going to want to really get behind you and do all the work to build your career if they don't see that you're already doing that. So be active, be a yes, and hate to say it, but embrace technology. We live in a technological age. We live in a digital age. 90% of people's first engagement with your work is going to be on their phone, or maybe if you're lucky, on their iPad or a machine with a bigger screen than the phone. So it has got to look good there. You've got to show up there. You can't just stay in the studio and say, oh, come do a visit, and you'll like what you see. And don't look at it online. It doesn't look good online. That doesn't work.
So I think there's kind of you could say like an 80-20 rule for creating your art. 80%, 20% should really be you're out there and marketing. So you could even say 20 minutes a day I'm going to spend on social media. I'm going to look at which juried shows I can get into. And you're going to, I really strongly advise at least twice a month at minimum. You should be showing up at events like this. You should be showing up at art gallery openings. You should be showing up at the ARC when they have these wonderful shows that you can, yes, Priscilla. That is such an incredible opportunity for artists to submit once a month. They have all types of juried shows. It's an extraordinary opportunity to show there, and it's such a great artist community. So at a bare minimum, twice a month. And community is really important. It's so important not to be just in your studio, in your head. Finding other artists to speak to and building community is really, really important. Back to the website again. Finding your voice, your artistic voice. You have to find what is uniquely yourself. And that, whatever that is, I know the question had been for like 50 and older. I think about, but you're right, we have a full range of people. But when we get to a certain age, I think it's really important to be very fearless and not hold things so tightly or worry so much about the outcome. I always feel like if you go through the process, when we built Art House together, it was a process. Every day we did the same thing. We got on the phone because there were no websites then. We called every interior designer in the Bay Area. We did things methodically every single day. And that's how you survive 30 years in this industry, is because you have to do the work. But finding your authentic voice, making sure that your website, there's so many opportunities to have a website that represents who you are. Again, that artist statement, your bio, when you're putting artwork out there, there has to be at least 15 to 20 available works. 15 to 20 on your website. And it all has to be a cohesive body of work. I've done so many portfolio reviews over the past decade, and I know that we all know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's really important that on your website, it doesn't look like 3 different people created the artwork, right? So once you find that your voice for each one of us, right? We have that artistic voice. That's what you're going to put forward. Old work that doesn't look what you're doing now needs to go off. I mean, because it's only confusing for me, and just like we've all said, we only have so many minutes in the day. And if we're going to look at it, we need to be able to make that assessment immediately. So, and the biggest thing is just to be fearless. We only have so many breaths that we're going to take while we're all here. And so it's really important to be fearless and send the email, just don't be so, and maybe you're not, but I remember when we started making phone calls, and sometimes or taking a step forward could feel really intimidating, and it shouldn't, because it's just a numbers game. That's all it is. The more people you know, the more you connect with your community. I loved what Danielle said. Same with me, if one of my artists would recommend someone, yes, I'd always go. And same for you, I'd go to their studio. So that's.
I just want to say the very first call for entry I applied for and got accepted was an art gallery. That's sort of what got me hooked. I was taking photography classes, and then I saw their call and went, I have a couple shops that might work. And I got accepted, and it was so fun. And I like this. And then I think, so very first one, I got accepted. And then this is not as difficult as people say. And then I got rejected for the next 10. And it's more rejection than acceptance. But anyway, my advice will be make what you love, whichever your medium is. When you're at a certain age, you have more life experience. Incorporate that in your work. That's how you find your point of view and what's authentic to you. And be aware of what other people are making in your chosen medium. Look at social media. Read all the articles. Read the art reviews. What you're making, is it relevant to what people are looking for? Especially with galleries that you want to work with. The same thing with call for entry. Read their specs. Does it meet the work that you're creating? Or, do you think you need to make new work just to fill this call? But at the end of the day for me, I have to see you in your work. If it feels derivative, then it's much harder to talk about. Because it lacks that uniqueness. That's you. When we talk about unique work, it's you, the artist. Where are you in that piece of work, whether it's a single photo, sculpture, a painting? It's important that we see you in it. Also, you gotta cultivate a relationship with the gallerist, or again, I'm sure you all have certain galleries you have in mind that you would love to show at. Go to the openings, go to the events, respond to their social media posts, because that's how we see you. And also, when you're at those events, be respectful of the gallerist's time. Don't pitch the gallerist at someone else's opening reception. That's just bad form. You can have a small chat, that's fine. Look at the price list, see, what are their prices that they tend to show. But don't monopolize their time because it's for someone else. Just be respectful. But other than that, they sent everything that I would have said.
open it up to questions. Yep.
Read out blocks.
That one down.
Any questions in the audience? I know there must be a few.
That's here.
Okay, here we go.
I'm just wondering, as Gallerists, how do you guys bridge the tension between what may sell commercially versus what you may believe creatively?
That's easy.
So, how do you bridge the tension between what you know will sell commercially versus what you believe in creatively? Because it might be a work that you really love creatively, but you're like, this is not going to sell. And you're in the business of being able to pay the galleries when.
I come across work like that all the time. I think I am an unapologetically commercial gallery, and it's not like I'm just trying to make money off everyone, but I don't have another funding source. I'm not a nonprofit that gets grants to pay. I have to pay my staff. My goal is someday to be able to actually provide health care insurance for them, but they work without that. Like, so we have to be making it. I figure it costs about $15,000 a month to do a show. So when these artists come at me and they're like, show me, it's like, I've got to know that even if I'm not going to sell, I have to sell $30,000 to break even, right? This is just like facts, right? That I think a lot of people don't really think about. So I do see a lot of work that I'm like, this is amazing work, but I don't have, and it's not even that it won't sell, but maybe I don't have the buyers for it. Because people come to us for something, our niche, and so all the time I'll look at those submissions and be like, I saw this really amazing work, but there's nothing I can do with it, personally. If I can think of another gallery who's more oriented towards that, I'll try to suggest it. Like, you should go talk to this person or have their program. But other than that, there's so much art out there, right? That the game is to find work that will sell, that does still satisfy your aesthetic standards and your personal taste, right? It has to do both, because it's my personal money I'm going to spend on it. It has to satisfy me, and it's like it seems like very egotistical, but you're asking me to spend $15,000 on you. So I've got to really be passionate about it and believe in it. So it's like, first there's that filter of what do I love, and what like interests or fascinates me, and then the subset of that, if I can find work that fascinates me that I think might also sell, then it's a contender for the gallery. But the gallery is also not the beginning and the end of the art world, right? There are nonprofit institutions that can show much more adventurous art. There's a lot of other ways to show up aside from at a commercial gallery. Just being straight with you, right?
Ditto on everything you said. That's true. But also, again, it's looking at all the galleries. I always say start locally because it's easier if you're. And so get on every website of every gallery that you can find and see where that might be a fit. I mean, it's like you said. It's like you're finding a courtship, you're finding a match. It's just that it's like when you find a friend or however that is in life, this is a two-way relationship. So yeah, it's just and what you said, I usually get out these 5 solicitations a day, but if somebody actually says, I met you at such and such, and would you take a look, then I'll look at it. But if I'm just part of a blanket email, and the work has nothing to do with any of the artists that I represent, it makes no sense, and I won't look at it because, I don't want to click on something that went out to everyone. So if it's personalized, then that helps. I'm just saying, for me anyway, I'll take a look at it.
I think I know why Westy asked that question. Westy is a fellow gallerist. She's co-owner of a newer gallery, photography focus in Alameda, 31A. So I'm probably the complete opposite. Again, my gallery is a commercial art gallery, but I choose work that inspire me. That's probably my, you two also have what you love, right? That's the first. But for me, the secondary is not so much will it sell, because I do tend to show emerging artists and more experimental work, or even established artists with experimental work. I'm open to it. So I always have a very honest conversation with an artist. Is what's more important to you, selling the work or having the work be shown and get some exposure? Because I could do the later quite well. It's just the former, again, the selling part. And and that's why it's just me. I am Chum 24 to keep my overhead small, to work within what I can do. So the decision really is, what does your work inspire me? In the beginning, I thought, well, I should, look more widely, blah, blah, blah. But someone said, I think it was an artist and other former gallerists, they say, it's your gallery to pick whatever you like. So I do that now more. It's whatever inspires me, it goes back to that relationship. I have to be able to talk about your work passionately for months and write about it for weeks and weeks. And so then I go with what I love more than what I think I can sell. So I feel I'm a little bit lucky that way, that I'm a very supportive life partner, as he's also getting more exposure to the artists that we work with. He too is inspired, even though he does not have any artistic bone in himself. So I am very lucky that way. And it is also my observation that for most artists out there, there is always someone behind you that believes in you. And at the end of the day, I think you only need that one or two people that believes in your work, in what you're creating. The gallerist that you're trying to court doesn't necessarily need to like it, because there are other avenues that you could show your work. So yeah, I'm not a very successful commercial art gallery. That's why I'm looking at Roswell.
I just love.
Hi there, thank you so much. He's so informative. I'm wondering if the gallerist can give us a picture of like a general client profile of who buys your work. What are they like? Is it residential? Is it commercial? What are their tastes like? How do they make decisions? Thank you.
That's such a broad question. No, that's okay. It's a good question. It's a good question. But actually, it's across the board. It's only people who love art. I've had collectors in the beginning who always had things on layaway, because we allowed that to happen just so they could make their collection. After 10, 20 years, an amazing collection. Part of their income just went to Art House as paying off our work. So it's just people who love art. And art does not sell itself. It does not. It does not. If you have something that's a price point of $300, $500, under $1,000, maybe. Art sells. It happens because I sell art. That's what I do, and I work really hard to make a connection between the artist and the collector. And I want them to be as excited as I am. There are times that I've looked at art where I just feel really emotional. And it speaks to you in such a way that you're moved. That's what I do for my clients. I never feel like, I said the word sell. I feel like the acquisition of the artwork is the byproduct of if I've done my job right. because it's really about, again, it's all about relationships and it's about the connection. That's why so many of my artists, they're repeat clients. It's because I always am genuinely authentic in that connection. Just as all of you have to be genuinely authentic in your work. It's just, and again, it's all about relationships. Tonight is so important. It's so important that we're all together. What an unusual, unique situation that we get to hear each other. We get to talk, and you're listening, and hopefully we all get to talk after. But I don't know if that helps. It's kind of broad, but it can be anyone who just loves art. So, Lori. Well, there's a lot of money in the Bay Area. So for me, I do a lot of residential. I can do anything from a studio apartment to I'm working on a beautiful 4-story home on the ocean in Carmel. I just did 3 floors and finishing the last one on Monday. So, and also I just finished a project in Chicago, a commercial project. So it just depends. Because I've been doing this for, well, actually 40 years, but 30 years as Art House, I just have so many relationships. But I don't think there's it's just somebody who loves art, if that makes sense.
Yes. So in my gallery, I do have the lower price point artwork that, they still don't sell themselves. So because I target more residential apartment dwellers, homeowners, or just first-time collectors, it's a conversation. Especially with photography, there is some education involved, and also just, so where the money is, where do people, so what fascinates me is, like I said, we started in Noe Valley, and there's a lot of money in Noe Valley. And I always find it curious that I see the bag that people are carrying, they cost less than a piece of original artwork in my gallery. But they will happily hunt down $5,000 for a bag that 10,000 people have, that a unique piece of artwork. Because a lot of people with money, they don't necessarily have the eye to know what is art, what isn't. So even if maybe you're just selling out of your studio, it's a conversation, it's a little bit of an education. And I've worked with a handful of consultants and designers. With those clients, they are more focused as far as what they're looking for. It's more project-based. Like they're doing a house and they know you are the source to help find this kind of work for them. So that, you really need to know the gallery that you want to work with if, they have that kind of relationship. Like I will tell you, no, I don't really have those kind of relationship. Yeah. That's what.
I'll just add or elaborate a little bit on some of that. And going back to your question earlier about how the market has changed in the last few years, I have really seen that we don't sell to ultra high net worth people. Ultra high net worth people are billionaires, and they are buying art that costs $1 million and up, and they're buying it in New York, they're buying it in Miami, they're buying it in London. They are not coming out to local galleries in the Bay Area, even if they live here in the Bay Area. It took me several years after I started my gallery. Everyone's like, oh, I know some, you gotta get to the rich people. And I finally realized that they're not my market. Stop thinking about them. They're gonna do their own thing.
Right.
So our market is people who still make a lot of disposable income, but they actually, our clients, they might be head of HR for Google. They work their butts off. These are they're high earning, but very hard working professionals, usually two in a family, because they're driven, passionate, entrepreneurial, Bay Area successful people. So they're not like lying around getting their nails done all day, just like saying, oh, let's go look at some galleries. It's really hard to get them out of the house into a gallery. And I think that has become much harder since the pandemic, when everyone got used to being at home and everyone got used to everything coming to them. I mean, don't kid me. I know half of you order your toothpaste from Amazon, right? It's just so much easier than going to Walgreens and asking someone to unlock a cabinet, right? But that Amazon effect went all the way up, and the wealthier people started living these more kind of privatized lives in these kind of protected spaces. And they protect themselves partly with these teams of trusted advisors. And that's where the art advisors, the art consultants, and the designers come in, is that if the collector trusts the designer or the advisor, and then the advisor interfaces with the art world on their behalf or towards their agenda, but they don't have to be exposed in a way. Like, they can keep their privacy. And it's made the role of the advisors and the consultants, I think, a lot, and the interior designers who sell art. Not all of them do, but some of them do get really involved, and some have really good taste and are essentially art consultants. It's made that role a lot more important lately, but it's also made it much harder to have direct relationships with the end user.
Thank you so much. I just want to riff off that a little. Do you think it's similar? I hear what you're describing about the Bay Area. And there was an article about the LA galleries and freeze, and some of the high-end galleries were saying it's so hard to get their collectors out of the house, in the car, to the gallery. Do you think it's... Yeah, Kira. Do you think it's the same in New York City? And why not?
Because New York City is not a car culture, number one. I mean, for the last 6 years, people are like, oh, we don't come to downtown Oakland because our car's going to get broken in. It's like, well, why don't you take an Uber? It'll cost $12. If you lived in New York, you would take a cab everywhere without thinking about it, right? But there's just a different mentality here. You have to go everywhere in your car, and your car is your most thing. And if there's a bridge, there's no parking, there's some danger between the parking and where you're going, you just don't do it. So I think number one, in New York, there is more engagement just because people will take the cab to the gallery, go to the gallery, leave, right? They can visit a gallery without having to be as exposed. I do suspect at the higher levels, though, just socially, culturally, that they're probably, that I know that the wealthier people in New York are also using art advisors and kind of not exposing themselves to the public unless they have to. But I do think there's more engagement in general, like amongst the art community and art lovers and connect, you know.
Culture there to look at
It's-
art in the area.
That's another whole conversation.
So I have a question. I'm Karen Goodfriend. I'm primarily a curator, and knowing, and a big part of my practice is documenting women's artwork and creating exhibitions. I know you get 50 million emails a day, but how do you feel about good old snail mail? Like if you were to receive a catalog of art sent to you, would that be any different for you than an email? Like something you can put in just, put that, but
No. Yeah, no, that was the time past. I mean, just, you can look on a catalog online. It's just, I just feel, the expense of sending and often it just gets tucked away and then eventually thrown out. That's the truth, unless it's something that, but if someone like you makes that contact, will you take a look at the catalog? Yes.
You know, I worked for the Growing Gallery, and literally we get like a box of mail, and he would just be like,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. Days. With the bed.
Yeah, I think the value of it is that when you open it, you see work right away. But you can do that if you are gonna email a gallery, like you were saying, put the pictures in. Put JPEGs in that are going to preview as soon as the email is open. Don't put something that I have to go click on something. I don't click on anything from anyone I don't know. And don't ask me to go to your website and wade through 30 years of art and try to figure out what art I'm supposed to be looking at. Just like put it in my face. I click it open, the art is there. I'm either gonna move on or I'm gonna go, oh, that's interesting, what's the next one down? Right, you've got to capture the attention right away. And I do think there's a value, there is some, old school. I still like love books and catalogs and print, and maybe it's like the historian in me. You know, if you have a show and you make a catalog to document it, even if the artist is making it, I think that's a really nice keepsake, and it's a really nice way to kind of hold a body of work and an accomplishment. It's a little different from like a brochure that you're mass mailing to everybody.
I get a lot of catalogs every day, and I have to tell you, I feel sorry for the artists sending it because I rarely look at them. I mean, very rarely, only if they expose me.
One artist actually sent me a pretty nice bandana with a handwritten note addressed to me, and then I looked at the website right away. I went to the website because she just sent me. I haven't used it. I don't know where it is now, but you know, that's different, especially with photography. If you're gonna mail out something, if it's just a regular catalog, it doesn't really do anything different than if you just stack the photos, attach a smaller JPEG. Don't send something so large that it takes a minute to open. But if you're gonna send something, make it like a small, exquisite print that's sort of representative of your work. Otherwise, it is a waste of your time, effort, and postage. I do understand. Ready to do that?
Is that take one more question?
Hi, my name's Beth. I thought I heard Danielle say that she had a lot of questions she wished she could answer, so I was thinking it'd be nice to hear from each one of you if there's a top or just one question that you really wanted to answer that you didn't get to answer.
Yeah, it was just kind of So again, this is just observation. As artists, you tend to work very individually. You spend a lot of time with your work, and of course you think you created the next best thing in the art world. But always have other people look at your work, and better yet, if it's non-art people, and if you get their attention right away, and they get it, then you know you have ton of faith. But don't get stuck in your own studio head and work that way, because then it's a very deep world. I know when we go to studio visit and you're like, wow, we need a lot of editing that situation.
I'm going to end with something that Nancy Pelosi said the other day. She came to DeRosa SF to talk for a few minutes about International Women's Day. She stood up, people wanted to know what politics were, and she said, I'm going to stop you right here. I think the future is all about our cultural life, and we need to stand up and sing that loudly so that everyone understands how important that is to our everything we do.